Michael Rips es un abogado, es un escritor. Ana, a lo largo de su carrera, ha trabajado como litigante penal, asistente de un juez de la Corte Suprema de Justicia y asesor de museos y fundaciones. Es autor de varios libros de no ficción: El rostro de una mujer desnuda, Un misterio familiar de Omaha, y Waco, los menos buscados de los Estados Unidos, Waco. En sus artículos se leen temas de derecho constitucional. Es experto en tratados internacionales y en el sistema judicial de los Estados Unidos. ¿Qué es lo que dice hoy en el New York Times el señor Rips? Que los tribunales federales no tendrían jurisdicción para juzgar el caso hasta que se resuelva un arbitraje internacional previsto en un tratado de extradición firmado entre Estados Unidos y Venezuela en 1922. Ana, la pregunta es directa y concreta. Esta interpretación de este obstáculo legal, ¿podría devolver a Nicolás Maduro a su país?
Good morning, Mr. Rips. Thank you very much for your time today at Caracol Radio.
Good morning. It's a pleasure being here.
Mr. Rips, in your article in the New York Times, it states that, there's this problem that with the international arbitration of, that could limit when and how, Maduro's case advances in the U.S. Could something like this, that problem with that international arbitration, allow Maduro to go back to Venezuela?
There are a lot of possible outcomes. In my opinion, one outcome, certainly one that I would favor, is that he's turned over to International Criminal Court in The Hague. That if he has truly committed the atrocities that he's alleged to have committed, that would be the appropriate place for him to be tried, and not in an American court in New York City.
Nos responde que hay muchos posibles resultados. En su opinión, uno de los resultados es que se envíe a una corte internacional en La Haya si ha cometido las atrocidades que dicen que cometió. Para él, esa corte internacional en La Haya es el lugar apropiado para que enfrente un juicio y no una corte de los Estados Unidos en Nueva York.
Yo quisiera preguntarle, Ana, a nuestro invitado, ¿cómo explica uno, si él puede darnos información, que Maduro esté hoy en una audiencia y Diosdado Cabello no haya pasado absolutamente nada por parte de la administración Trump, ninguna decisión hasta el momento?
Is there a legal standpoint where we could explain that Nicolás Maduro is in a court today, but Diosdado Cabello has not been extradited to the U.S.?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Is there any legal explanation why Nicolás Maduro is in a court in the U.S., but Diosdado Cabello is not in the U.S. yet?
I don't know. I'm not familiar with that case.
Pues no lo sabe porque no está relacionado con ese caso.
Yo quería preguntarle a propósito de lo que él dice de la legalidad de esta extradición de Nicolás Maduro. ¿Qué corte podría decir sí, lo que está pasando con este arbitraje internacional es incorrecto y hay que parar este caso? ¿Qué corte considera él que pudiera decir que si lo de que él dice tiene o no tiene razón? Mr. Rips, going back to that international arbitration issue, which court could say, okay, you know what? We have to hold off till this international arbitration is fixed. Could that be the New York court, or which court could decide that?
Absolutely the New York court. It happens all the time in the United States where courts, judges will defer a case to arbitration or an issue in a case to arbitration. Happens all the time. The New York court would do that.
Absolutamente, la Corte de Nueva York, eso pasa todo el tiempo en los Estados Unidos. Los jueces en las cortes pasan un caso a un arbitraje y nos dice que es algo relativamente frecuente.
Más allá del tema jurídico, que obviamente es el que es la posibilidad que él plantea, acá también hay un elemento político de los Estados Unidos. ¿Qué tanto el interés político de Estados Unidos puede acabar evitando que eso que él plantea se lleve a cabo?
I mean, apart from the legal standpoint of what you have pointed out, there is a political factor here, a political interest in the U.S. How much could the political influence of the administration Trump influence what the court decides in terms of this pending international arbitration?
A very good question. The judge who has the case now, his name is Hellerstein, is essentially a liberal to leftist judge. He's 90 years old, or very close to that, and he's very independent. It is unlikely that he will be influenced by the position of the Trump administration. This argument is going to get a very fair hearing from that judge. Also, the Court of Appeals, the Federal Court of Appeals that this case would go to, is a liberal, moderate to liberal court. So they, too, would not be influenced by the Trump administration. Now the question is, if it goes to the Supreme Court, what happens? Well, by the time it gets to the Supreme Court, it's likely that Trump will no longer be in office. So the question is, what would a liberal or even leftist Democratic president, if that happens, and it's quite possible, what position would that president take on this case?
Es una buena pregunta. Nos dice que el juez que tiene el caso en este momento tiene cerca de los 90 años o 90 años. Es esencialmente un juez liberal de izquierda. Es una persona muy independiente, así que es improbable que sea influenciado por la posición de la administración de Donald Trump. Nos responde que la Corte Federal de Apelación a la que iría este caso también es una corte moderada, tampoco tendría por qué ser influenciada por Donald Trump o dejarse influenciar de alguna manera porque no está, digamos, alineado con esa tendencia. La pregunta es, ¿qué pasa si pasa a la Corte Suprema? Entonces nos dice que cuando llegue el caso a la Corte Suprema es probable que el presidente Donald Trump ya no sea mandatario de los Estados Unidos. Incluso también podría preguntarse qué posición tomaría un presidente liberal o incluso un presidente de izquierda o demócrata frente a este caso.
¿Hasta dónde el gobierno de Estados Unidos podría dialogar tal vez con el gobierno de Venezuela, el actual, de Delcy Rodríguez, y acordar una suspensión o incluso de manera unilateral denunciar el tratado y entonces decir que no se aplica?
To what extent could the U.S. negotiate with the Venezuelan government to put an asterisk in the treaty and say, you know what, the treaty does not exist so that it cannot be applied?
The courts in the United States would be very reluctant to accept that, because generally there is the idea that you can only be convicted under the law that applies at the time of your arrest, or at the time you committed the crimes. So rewriting the law after the crime was committed is something that is not generally accepted under American law. Yeah. So it's unlikely that they would allow the treaty to be, that any court would allow the treaty to be rewritten.
Yeah, by let me ask you something. Last question. Attorney Rips, you have said that if the judges decide that the capture of Maduro was not legal because the extradition agreement, United States must let him be free immediately. The question is, who are those judges? Who decide those judges? When they can decide what you ask about it?
So, are you asking me who decides the case?
No, who decides who are those judges?
Oh, okay. Very good question.
Thank you.
The treaty doesn't say anything about who the judges are. So the judge in the case, this fellow Hellerstein, would come up with a method for selecting the judges, the arbitrators, who the arbitrators are. And there are different methods that various lawyers have identified for selecting the arbitrators. There are different possibilities. So Venezuelan government and the U.S. government could agree on the arbitrators, or the Venezuelan government could appoint, say, 3 arbitrators. The U.S. could appoint 3 arbitrators, and the judge a neutral arbitrator. Or the judge could send the arbitration to, an international organization that frequently holds arbitrations between nations. So there's a lot of possibilities. Okay. So we don't know. The answer is we don't know.
We don't know. And in a different case, your personal opinion, do you think anything is going to happen with Benjamin Netanyahu?
Oh, I'm not familiar with that case. But should, in my opinion, cases like the case against Maduro and the case against Putin and the case against Netanyahu and other people who are alleged to have committed crimes against their own people or others, should they be tried, those people? Yes, but they should be tried in a neutral, international, fair forum that everybody accepts. And that's why we have, there's an international criminal court that should be used to bring accusations against these people, and those people in turn would receive a fair trial. That's where all of this should be resolved. Not in courts in New York, not in courts in Venezuela or Moscow, right? But in an international court where the rules of law are fairly and intelligently applied. What do you think, by the way? I mean, you're smarter than I am on this subject. Where do you think all of this?
No, Mr. Rips, but you are the lawyer. I was thinking about the case of Netanyahu, Putin, and Maduro. What are the difference? Mr. Netanyahu is, in this moment, he's casing an international court, but nothing happens with Netanyahu. He can fly free to the United States with no problem. So I don't understand sometimes that situation. But you are the expert.
Well, he may have a problem in New York. I think so. Today, the mayor of New York announced that Netanyahu is a war criminal.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. That's my question.
Yeah. So the and as I was pointing out, the legal process in the United States is so long that by the time there's any decision on Maduro, Mamdani could be president of the United States. So it's
do you think
it's a
so?
fluid situation. Could he be president?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, sure, a real possibility. The kind of leftist populist movement in the United States seems to be growing.
What interesting conversation. Thank you for your time, Mr. Rips, and have a good morning in New York.
Well, I thank you and all of your listeners. I'm a big fan of your show.
Thank you.